Hello Heat Seekers, welcome back to the Heat Sheet Advent Calendar, and today is going to basically be the bounty and the celebrations. Those matches that are no one's favourite, but should be. So the first match I'm going to choose is going to be Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon from King of the Ring 2001. This is arguably one of my favourite matches, but through speaking to other podcasters, friends who like wrestling, no one else has ever mentioned this match. Maybe it's a little bit before their time and I'm a little bit more of a geek, but this match had everything, especially from someone who wasn't really very experienced at the time, in Shane McMahon. Kurt Angle obviously pulled him through the match, but with a broken tailbone, there's only so much heavy lifting he could have done, so it was on Shane McMahon to make it a spectacle as well. This was obviously the infamous match where Shane McMahon was put through the glass twice and not put through the glass twice, where he landed on his head. It finally ended in an angle slam off the top rope after broken glass, broken tailbones, broken everything. And after the match, when they went backstage, it was well warranted that they got a standing ovation. So this really put Shane McMahon on the map. It cemented Kurt Angle as an experienced star, even though he'd been only in the company for 2 or 3 years, and it showed he could work with anyone and pull out a 4-5-star match. So that is my first match that should be someone's favourite out there. Right, the next one is going to be interesting for me, going off of the WWE topic. I'm going to go into something that we've rarely ever talked about on this podcast. I've mentioned it once, but it's going to be Lucha Underground. And if there are a few Lucha Underground fans in here, there are a few fans of the pod that know I like pure violence, pure chaos, they'll know where I'm going here. It's from the Ultimate Lucha match, so Ultima Lucha 3, the Hell of War match between AR Fox and Swerve Strickland. So on this show, they were known as Dante Fox and Killshot. Before Hangman and Swerve, there was this match. So if you thought that match was sick on AEW, watch this and it's even topped that. It was 2 out of 3 falls, or in old WWE fashion, it was 3 stages of hell, which we've not seen again. And I feel like bringing this back to WWE or AEW would be a good shout, and a little bit of refreshing matches for anyone who's got a little bit of hardcore about them. So the first match here was a first blood match in which Dante Fox picked up the victory. He cut open Swerve, he cut open Killshot, and this was just the start of one of the sickest matches in the company's history. So the second match, in true fashion, was obviously won by Killshot, and this was a classic no DQ match. Again, there was more glass, there was more chairs, there was more chaos, and in the end this was won by a 450, a kill stomp, and finally a cradle driver onto the glass, and this evened up at 1-1. This led us straight into a stretcher match, which had some of the most violent spots, not only in this company's history, but in the whole of wrestling history, I'd have to say. In the end, a bottle was broken across Dante Fox's head, and he tumbled through a structure created by the mastermind that is Dario Cuerto. We know Lucha Underground like to have people falling through stages, falling through grounds, falling through roofs, and this was no different, in which Killshot picked up his lifeless body, put him on the stretcher, and won the match to make it 2-1. A sick match, and I just wish we seen this on AEW. You know, they came back in the Mogul Embassy. They had a very brief run-in with each other, which really didn't lead to anything, but this match was hard to watch, but even harder to keep your eyes off, so this is my fourth choice of the video. So my third choice here is going to be a controversial one. Obviously, we don't want to bring up any names that might have controversy surrounding them, but we are the Heat Sheet, so we don't really give a shit. The next match is going to be from War Games 2017, and this is going to be Aleister Black versus the Velveteen Dream. Obviously, he's done some interesting shit in the past few years. However, we can't take away what he did in the ring that night. Aleister Black's always going to be a performer, which gets a 3, 4, 5-star match out of you. However, this was really the match that cemented Velveteen Dream as opposed to Tough Enough's Patrick Clark. This match had a good build, and the premise of it was that the Velveteen Dream wanted to be noticed, he wanted to be seen, and he wanted Aleister Black to say his name. And after a hard-fought match, the Velveteen Dream gained the respect from Aleister Black, in which he uttered those words, "Enjoy infamy, Velveteen Dream." So you might not know what happened in this match, but I'm sure you'll remember that quote uttered at the end. But if you want to go back, watch the whole feud, watch the whole match up until the end, and you won't be disappointed. So that is my third pick. Okay, so the next match I'm going to choose is going to be, obviously we've just had Survivor Series, so I've got to throw in an elimination match from one of these events, and I'm going to go with Survivor Series 2003, which pitted the teams of Stone Cold's men, which had RVD, Booker T, HBK and the Dudleys, versus Eric Bischoff's team of Randy Orton, Mark Henry, Chris Jericho, Christian and Scott Steiner. So 10 men in their own right who either are Hall of Famers or are going to be future Hall of Famers. There was no chance that this match was ever going to be bad, but I don't think anyone really realised how good it was going to be. So this was a match in where it didn't really follow the same scheme in the end. It wasn't 5v5, 4v4, 3v3, 2v2. It ended up as a 3v1 on Shawn Michaels against Y2J, Christian and Randy Orton. And after violently taking out Y2J and Christian, a steel chair attack from Chris Jericho followed, basically handing the win to Randy Orton. However, in WWE fashion, to make it a little bit more dramatic, they had Shawn Michaels get the upper hand up until Dave Bautista came out, hit a Batista bomb, allowing Randy Orton to take the win and be one of his 3 Sole Survivor victories at Survivor Series. The acting from Stone Cold as well, looking so dejected, knowing that this was the end of his run and he was fired on screen. However, we wouldn't see him for a few more years after that. This was one of Shawn Michaels' best matches. It was one of his bloodiest matches. However, he topped that at WrestleMania a couple of years after, and then the next year after that. But this was definitely a match, if you've never seen or haven't watched in a while, this is one you need to go back to. So the fifth and final choice of this video is going to be from One Night Stand 2005, and it was that brutal match between Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka. Obviously it wasn't their first match in their history, but show my age a little bit, so only one I managed to watch live, or at least the one I've watched the most and which is the most readily available to maybe new fans. They did have one of their major matches at Heatwave 98, however they did have 5 matches prior to the 2005 One Night Stand in which Masato Tanaka was 3-2 up at the time. During this match, however, there was a violent use of steel chairs in which I'm surprised Masato Tanaka's skull wasn't caved in, or at least 3 or 4 concussions in the one match. The match was finally ended by a awesome bomb over the top rope through a table, in which after that I can only call a jump scare of a suicide dive where Mike Awesome picked up the 1-2-3. Like I said, unfortunately this led to nothing really on main stage American TV for either of them, but this is a match that'll never be forgotten. This match looked to put both of them back on the map, and really it should have. We were hoping that after this, maybe Mike Awesome would finally get one of the runs in WWE that he really deserved over the time. He's been dealt a pretty shit card over the years in WCW with dancing gimmicks, obviously, and the new WCW rebrand they had when Vince took over the company didn't really amount to much. However, this didn't happen due to money disputes, and ultimately, after a tough time in the next couple of years after, so Mike Awesome tragically took his own life.